Do you ever think about your name? Just take a moment and think about what your name is. There's a lot to think about when you think about your name. How did your parents choose your name? What does your name mean? What famous people in history have the same first name as you? What about people in your family? Are you named after someone? Names have power. They are not like shirts that you can change without changing you. Did you know that most people, when asked what their favorite letter is, will pick the letter that is in their name? And did you know that our preference for our name and its letters is reflected in our choice of occupations? A disproportionate number of dentists are named Dennis. And look for a guy named Charles to be living in Charlestown. In my family, Frank is a Franciscan friar, and my sister Tina is a teacher. Names are powerful. Your name not only defines you, your name is you. I wonder if Juliet was right when she said that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. I wonder. We expect a rose to smell a certain way and a tulip to smell a certain way. If we called a rose a tulip, would we recognize its smell? Names are powerful and important. And when you hear your name called, something inside you tells you that your entire being is being called. Everything about you is being called. When my name is called by anyone I know, somewhere in my mind and in my heart, all that I am is being called forth. Imagine how Samuel in our first reading must have felt when he heard his name called but couldn't figure out who was calling. Imagine how Simon in the gospel felt when he heard Jesus call his name and then give him a new name. Simon's entire life changed at that moment. He became Peter, Peter the rock, Peter the betrayer, the apostle, the leader, and the preacher of the good news. Simon was a fisherman, but Peter was a disciple. I guess it's appropriate that Jesus gave him a new name, since everything in his life changed when he was called by name by Jesus. He could no longer be Simon. He had to be Peter. Sisters and brothers, you and I have been called by name. Jesus has called each one of us to be his disciple. And just as with Samuel and Peter, it changes everything. Being called by name gives new meaning to our names. I am no longer simply Frank the Franciscan friar. I am Frank the disciple. You are no longer simply Joe the dad, or Mary the mom, or Tina the teacher, or Bill the banker. You are a disciple. And you have been called by name, and your name has taken on an entirely new meaning. Names are powerful. When any one of us is called by name by Jesus, we have even more power. Now your name evokes preaching the good news and welcoming the stranger and forgiving the sinner. Your name is the name of a disciple, and you are called to do good work every day. We may not have the powerful dream that Samuel had, and we may not meet Jesus along the road like Peter, but we are being called by name. And the real challenge here, brothers and sisters, is to be open to hearing our names called. It might come from the poor, the homeless, from the hungry, from the disenfranchised, from women and other minorities. We have to listen closely so we don't miss the call. And we must remember that Jesus can speak to any of us through any means, even another person. Sometimes the call may be to simply recognize the presence of the Lord in a given situation. Other times, the call might be more challenging, like to forgive someone who hurt you, or love someone who is very difficult, or listen to those you tend to ignore. Whatever the case may be, every single one of us is being called by name to be a disciple. And our response must come from the very core of our being, and it must take over our entire being. When you have been called by name, your name takes on an entirely new meaning. You are now a disciple. The first thing Jesus did at the start of his ministry was to call disciples. And he did it in rather ordinary ways. He invited people to come and see where he lived. He challenged people to let go of their old ways and embrace his new way. He offered people a new way of being in the world. And Jesus gave every person he called the opportunity to expand their lives and therefore expand the meaning of their names. Once the early disciples decided to follow Jesus, they realized that their lives now had new meaning. They found fulfillment in their discipleship. Until that moment of saying yes to following the Lord, somehow the meaning of their name was incomplete. Now, isn't it true that we're always looking for deeper meaning in our own lives? We're always looking for greater fulfillment of our own destiny. We want the meaning of our name, who we are, to be strong and be complete. Well, sisters and brothers, we can find all of that in our decision to follow the Lord and be his disciples. In Jesus, our names find their deepest meaning. In our discipleship, our names find their ultimate destiny. In doing good work, we will be strong and complete. So listen for the Lord calling your name. Say yes to the Lord, and your name will never be the same. Praise be Jesus Christ.